So this year, I was really drawn to Matthew's account of the resurrection. So let's read it. Let's read the Easter story from Matthew chapter 28 and talk about that for a few minutes. It says, after the Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were as white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know you're looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, he has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you. So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshiped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, where they will see me. You know, as I was reading this, I was drawn to the phrase, come and see. And when I read that, come and see, it just struck a chord with me. You know, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, we know it was either Mary, the mother of James, or the mother of Salome. They were the first eyewitnesses to the resurrection of Jesus. And the angel wanted them to physically see Jesus was not there. You know, he had been risen just as he said he would. So the angel, I can tell you, but I want you to come and see that Jesus is not here. I want you to go tell the story to the other disciples, to the apostles, with confidence, with conviction, with clarity. And so, in other words, don't believe because I told you. Go in there and look and see for yourself. And as I was thinking about this message, this phrase, come and see, it started resonating with me. And I thought, man, I think this is used several times in the life of Jesus. And I actually found 4 other places where this phrase, come and see, is used, or 3 other places. The first one is in John chapter 1, verse 35-39. This is, of course, John the Baptist and his disciples. It says, the next day, John the Baptist, was there again with 2 of his disciples. And when he saw Jesus passing by, he said, look, the Lamb of God. When the 2 disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Turning around, he saw them following and asked, what do you want? And they said, Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? Come, he replied, and you will see. So they went and saw where he was staying, and they spent the day with him. It was about 4 in the afternoon. Then a little bit later in John chapter 1, it says, the next day Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, follow me, Philip. Follow me. Philip, like Andrew and Peter, were from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, we have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. Come and see, said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. How do you know me? Nathanael asked. Jesus said, I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you. Then Nathanael declared, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. And Jesus said, you believe because I told you, I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that. Now, as I was reading, Philip tells Nathanael, hey, man, come and see. Just come spend time with Jesus. Come and investigate and see for yourself. And, of course, Nathanael's world was rocked. And, I thought about it. I was reading this week. I wonder what Nathanael was thinking about under the tree. Was he contemplating the world? Was he contemplating this traveling preacher, Jesus, and possibly what was going on with him? And then the last one I want to look at it's a famous story. Most people know about it. It's Jesus and his disciples are going through Samaria, and they stop at a village called Sychar. And Jesus has this infamous, this famous conversation with an adulterous woman at the well. So, she's out there at noon. She comes when none of the other ladies are there because she's an immoral woman. And Jesus starts having this conversation with her, talking about living water. And she asks him if he's the Messiah, all this kind of stuff. And he says, why don't you go and get your husband and come bring him and talk to me? And she said, well, I don't have a husband. He said, you're right in saying that. You've had 5 husbands. And the man you're with now is not your husband. And the greatest line in the Bible, she said, sir, I perceive you're a prophet. I grew up, my dad was a pastor, and they would have some of these prophets come. They would invite these prophets to come. And I never wanted to go when the prophets were there. I was always I was a teenager, but I was always scared they were going to call out some sin or something. So I'd always sit at the back row and just kind of keep my head down, But it says this in verse 28 to 30. So Jesus told her, to go get her husband. She went into the village. It says, then leaving her water jar, the woman went back to the town and said to the people, come see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? And then they came out of the town and made their way toward him. So this immoral woman, she says, come and see. Come and see. Maybe this is the Messiah, maybe this is the Son of God. And it says, if you read the whole story, they came out, and Jesus stayed there 2 more days. And it says, many of the people in that town, in that village, believed because they came and saw Jesus and spent some time, with him. So there's 3 things about this phrase, come and see, that I want to mention before we finish up today. The first one is this. Come and see. It's the invitation to investigate. It's the invitation to investigate. So I've been living in this area a long time. I have a lot of friends, many of which don't go to church. They're not Christians. I've just met them along the way. And they always want to talk to me about things, always ask me questions. And I always tell them, man, just come and see. Hey, why don't you find you a church? Just start going and see if it's real. The only way you can discover if something is real is you just have to go and see. You just have to investigate. But the angel invites the woman, Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, to come and see. Come and see the place where he's laid. He was there, but he's not there anymore. Come and see a physical representation of his resurrection. Jesus invites the 2 disciples of John the Baptist. They're talking to him. He's like, hey, come and see. Just come and spend a day with me. And they just go. And they spend the afternoon watching Jesus, listening to him, watching how he interacts with people. Philip invites Nathanael to come and see. And Nathanael comes and sees Jesus, and it just changes his life. And it changes the whole course of his life. And, of course, the immoral Samaritan woman invites the village of Sychar to come out and see if Jesus is everything she has said that he was. She told them, and they come out and see, and many of them end up giving their life to Jesus. So I guess what I'm saying is Christianity is not a blind faith. God always gives evidence, and he invites us to examine the truth and make the decision for ourselves. So the resurrection is not a myth, but a reality that should change our outlook on life. The early church, Christianity just started spreading rapidly after the resurrection of Jesus. But the people were coming to Jesus because, number one, many of them saw Jesus after he was resurrected. Or number two, they knew somebody who had seen Jesus physically, and they firsthand, they believed that. The Bible records 10 to 12 firsthand accounts of Jesus appearing to people after the resurrection, after the over 40-day period. In Acts chapter 1 and verse 3, it says this: after his suffering, he presented himself to them and gave many convincing proofs that he was alive. He appeared to them over a period of 40 days, and he spoke about the kingdom of God. And it's something that you may not know. One of the most interesting, it's so interesting to me that Jesus, his resurrection, the first people to witness his resurrection were 2 women. And you say, well, what's amazing about that? Again, we live in a modern world today. There are many parts of the world today still where women don't have rights. And in first century Israel, it's just the way that it was. A woman's testimony was not considered valid. I mean, this is not Terry. I'm just giving you the reality. A woman was not allowed to testify in the court of a law because a woman's testimony was not valid. The only time a woman could testify in a court is she was publicly testifying about the death of her husband. They felt like she could validate that pretty strongly, So the fact, what I'm saying is, if you were trying to fabricate a story, you would not have chose two women to validate the story first. So to me, this gives great credibility to the story. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 3 through 8, it says this: "For what I received, I passed on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins, according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day, according to the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas," that's Peter, "and then to the 12, and after that he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles, and last of all he appeared to me also as to one abnormally born." That's Paul talking there. So he's like, man, he appeared to all these people, and this was written while many of them were still alive. And so again, you wouldn't have wrote falsehood if it could be, if it could be publicly, verified by people as being a lie. When I was a youth pastor at Family Life in Lafayette, so many of the people, so 80% of the church, maybe 90% of the church in Lafayette, Louisiana, they were all raised in the Catholic Church. It's a French community. So almost everyone that went, it was a non-denominational church there that we went to, that I was on staff at. But almost everyone in the church, they were raised in the Catholic faith. And so one day we're sitting in the church offices, and this guy comes in, and his name was Errol Guidry, and he just pulled off the road, came in, and he said, "I want to talk to some pastors." And so I think myself and one other guy, pastor, was there. So we said, "Hey, how can we help you?" He said, "Look, I'm driving down the road, and I'm just racking my brain. I'm having a hard time thinking this. And, I was raised as kind of a partially religious guy. I go to Mass on Christmas and Easter, but really religion doesn't really have a part in my life." He's like, "Look, my life is a mess, and I'm just looking for the truth. I just want to know the truth. Is this church the truth?" And so we just said, well, hey, Jesus is the truth. And really what we told him is, why don't you just come and see? Why don't you just start coming? Just start coming on Sunday. Just start getting involved. And why don't you just come and hang around and just see if what you see here, if Christianity in our lives, if it's really true, if it really works. So he said, "I'll do that. What I got to lose? My life's a mess." And so he came, and about 3 weeks later, he came up front and gave his life to Jesus. Okay? And so then, almost a year later to the date, it's Wednesday, so we're having our pastor staff meeting. He comes up to the secretaries again. He didn't believe in making appointments. He just showed. Some of you are like that. You just showed, right? And he came up there and he's like, "I need to talk to the pastor." So we're in our staff meeting, and the secretary, Buzz, Pastor Francis, said, "Hey, Errol Guidry here. He's demanding to talk to all the pastors." And Brother Francis said, "Well, by all means, this should be interesting. Send him in, And he came in there. He's like, "Guys, I just got to tell y'all something." He's like, "This Christianity thing is real." He said, "It's real." He's like, I was coming to see because y'all told me to come in and see, and my life's a mess. What else I do?" He's like, "My whole life is turned around. My whole life is turned around." He's like, "I came up to give my life to the Lord about 3 to 4 weeks after I started coming." He said, "Then I tried something radical." We're like, "Well, what was radical?" "I started obeying the Bible. I started reading the Bible, and I got all this stuff out of my life. And if the Bible, I just made a pact with God. If the Bible says that, I'm just going to try it." He's like, "There's some crazy stuff in there." He's like, it says to pray for those who persecuted you. Do you know I started praying for everyone in my life that I didn't like or didn't like me? And that's a lot of people. And all my relationships have turned around. I mean, this is just like a good old Cajun boy just laying it out there, man. And it's like, it said to tithe. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Give 10% while I started tithing and God started blessing my business. He said, you can't make this up. One of the pastors said, someone get a camera. We need to start recording this for advertisement, right? But then, it was just crazy. And it's just like, all we did was say, hey, we gave him an invitation. Just come and see. Just come spend time with some Christian people. See for yourself if it's real. And God gives all of us an invitation. God doesn't make somebody read the Bible. He doesn't make you go to church. He doesn't make you. The invitation of the Gospels is come and see. Come and experience the life-changing power of Jesus. It's radical and it's crazy and it works in ways you may not have even known. And so, maybe you're here today and maybe you're skeptical of religion, you're skeptical of faith, and maybe you've been let down by church leaders and you've been let down by family and things have been wronged. And, I can't make up for any of that. And this church, I'm imperfect, this church is imperfect. But I know one thing. I know when you come and see, Jesus will meet you right where you're at. It doesn't scare me at all if somebody is skeptical of faith. All I can say is you just have to try something. It's hard to say you don't believe in something if you've never tried it. Errol, man, he had nothing to lose. And so he just decided to go all in. And he took baby steps in there. So maybe you're here today. Maybe the call for you, come and see, it's just an invitation to investigate, to see what this Christian life, is about. And I know this. Things like living life according to the Bible, it just really works. I had a friend of mine, a guy, and we've known each other for years, and he's not a Christian, and he told me, he's like, Terry, he's like, look, I do whatever I want with my life because I'm not a Christian, I don't have a baseline, I just do what I want. He's like, you're doing all this stuff to obey the Bible, so what if you die and you're wrong, there's no God? And I said, well, what if we both die and I'm right? He's like, no, take my question first. Okay, I'll take your question first. And so I said, well, here's the thing, what I would say to that is, if both of us get to the end of our lives, if there was no God, which I adamantly am opposed to that, I don't believe that, I still would have lived a better life than you. I've done everything I can to treat people nice. I'm not perfect. To treat people nice. I've tried to be generous. I've been faithful to my family. I've been faithful to I've been faithful to my friends. So if I get to the end, at least I would have lived a better life than you self-proclaimed to have lived. He's like, you got a point. I'll concede that point to you. But I believe this. God will speak to you and direct you if you just start praying and asking him, God, just help me. I believe he will speak to you. I believe God will do miracles in your life. Number 2, come and see. And this is watch fear turn into joy. Watch fear turn into joy. It says that the 2 women, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they left the tomb. And it's really interesting. They were afraid yet filled with joy. They were afraid yet filled with joy. And I think they were afraid because their whole world had been rocked. Everyone, they had put all their faith in Jesus, and it looked like the story was over, so there was fear. But as they were leaving the tomb, that fear began to turn into joy. Has that ever happened in your life where you're fearful of something, but when you just give it to God, he's going to turn that into joy in some way, form, or fashion. So the resurrection changes your relationship with fear, because we can trust the Lord to fully, and so fear is unnecessary. Years ago, they did this big study, and they say that people worry about 3 things. 3 things people worry about. They worry about their past, they worry about their present condition or situation, and they worry about their future. So I read that story, I'm like, well, that's your whole life. You were to know the past, present, if that's your whole life. And God doesn't want us to, of course, to live in fear. So because Jesus rose from the grave, the story for us is this, that our past can be forgiven and forgotten. Our past can be forgiven. I talk to people all the time, and it's something happened and way back, and let God forgive your past. Let Jesus this morning, let him heal your past. Let's move out of the past so we can move forward. You don't have a present or a future if you're stuck in the past. And so our past can be forgiven, it can be healed. Our present circumstances can be managed. He gives us the strength to manage. And I know in a room with this many people, and in my own life, look, this last year, I've had some rough things happen in my personal life. My wife went through a major surgery. There's all this recovery, and it puts added stuff on you, just all kind of stuff. But every day brings problems. And I think when we go to our resurrected Savior and say, I need you to help me with this. I need strength. He gives us strength every day. Have you've ever gotten through something, you're like, man, you look back, I don't know how I got to that. Well, it was one day at a time, asking God to give us strength. So our past can be forgiven, it can be healed, our present can be managed, and our future is guaranteed. And that's the greatest thing. No matter what happens in this life, the great news is one day we're already promised eternity in heaven. And that is going to be glorious. As a matter of fact, this world has so many problems. We should be excited about that. We should be excited about that. And the third and concluding point I want to talk about with come and see, accept the mission to go and tell. So seeing the truth always leads to action. The resurrection demands a verdict, and when we truly see it, we are compelled to share it. So the angel told these women, it's really funny, he said, go quickly and tell the other disciples. It wasn't, hey, at some time in the future, meet for coffee on Thursday. It was like, go quickly, go right now and tell the disciples the good news that Jesus is risen. And several things about this. Studies have shown the last few years that evangelism in church, just Christians sharing their faith, has dropped to record lows. And you want to know the truth is? The truth is, churches spend billions of dollars on advertisement. But you know what really works? When somebody meets Jesus and he starts to work in their life, and then they just share with other people what the Lord has done. And I think some people are scared to share their faith because it's like, well, I don't know all the facts. I don't know all the details. You know what I have found in my life? When people come up and ask me questions, very seldom is it about the factual, the evidence that supports the factual writing of the Bible. I could go over that with them, but it's always about, man, my life is in a mess. What can help? And so using our testimony, I'll give you an example. So over the next 3 years, after Errol Guidry, after he got saved and started obeying the Bible and came and talked with us, no one in our church brought more people than Errol. I mean, we were on a church growth route just because of him. I mean, I'm like, how are you bringing so many people, Errol? He's like, Terry, my life was so messed up. And now people see me now, I can convince them easy to come. He's like, man, I was depressed. I was suicidal. I feel great now. I'm not on any medicine. Well, how'd you do that? It's Jesus. Come to church with me on Sunday. He said, my marriage was a wreck. He says, right. He said, today, my wife likes me. He didn't say love. He said, we're working toward love, but she likes me. She's staying in the house with me. And so when we're supposed to be, how do we share the faith? By people seeing the evidence of God in our lives, that we're not perfect. No, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. But God is changing us, and He's helping us in our relationships, and He's helping us in our marriage, and He's giving us joy and so many things, like along those lines. So I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you, don't be scared to share with people what the Lord has done in your life. First of all, it'll feel good for you because you're glorifying God for doing a work in your life. But second of all, it encourages other people. So most people, they're just looking for help. They're looking for encouragement. They're looking for support. And all these things you can get in the Christian faith. So, as I was going through this message, I think that there's something in this message for everyone. First of all, if you're not a believer or if you're skeptical, there's the invitation to investigate. Just start investigating the Christian life. And we'd love to have you here, but just find a good church. There's a lot of them around. And just get involved. Just start going. Just see if it's authentic. See if it's genuine. Start praying and asking God to help you and to lead you and to guide you. Start reading the Bible and just start obeying it. The second thing is the opportunity to turn fear into joy. And I just want to say, church, we're here today to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. And if you believe the resurrection to be a fact of life, if you actually believe that happened, there is nothing in your life that qualifies you to worry. I mean, if God rose Jesus from the grave, He can resurrect anything in our life. He can resurrect your relationship with your kids. He can resurrect your relationship with your wife. He can resurrect your physical body. Nothing is off the table. Then, of course, just accepting the mission of sharing our faith with people we love and care about, and possibly those in your life that may be difficult. I'm going to have the worship team come up this morning as we get ready to conclude. And I'm going to pray for you here. I'm going to come and pray for you right after we sing for a little bit. But if you look there in the chair backs right in front of you, there are some stations there that have pens, and there's some cards there. And one of them is a response card. And number one, if you're here today and you say, man, I want to give my life to Jesus today, there's a response card that you can fill out there. And if you want a staff member to call you to pray with you, you can write that on the response card. You can write prayer requests on the response card. And what we're going to do is, during this song, if you'll just take a moment just to write your card, I'm recommitting to my life to the Lord, I'm giving my life to the Lord, I need prayer. And then it's Easter, and it's going to get crazy. We're going to have you either take them to the wooden boxes in the foyer, or just leave them on the chair, and the deacons will come and take those up. But we would love to know how we can pray for you. We would love to know how we can help you, how we can encourage you on your spiritual journey. Let's stand together and sing before we're dismissed.